First Contact's deception. The Galactic Council had catalogued over 12,000 sentient species across the known universe, and they believed they understood the patterns of civilization. Strong species conquered, weak species served, advanced species thrived, primitive species struggled. These were the immutable laws that had governed the galaxy for millions of years, carved into the very fabric of interstellar politics through countless wars, extinctions, and subjugations. Every new species discovered fell neatly into one of their predetermined categories: predator, prey, servant, or master. They had formulas to calculate a species' threat level based on their technology, aggression index, and reproductive rates. They had never been wrong. Until they found Earth. Commander Jektal of the Jarvak Empire stood on the bridge of his reconnaissance vessel, his forearms clasped behind his chitinous back as he reviewed the preliminary scans of the small blue planet. The Jarvak were among the Council's elite races, having conquered 43 star systems over their 8,000-year reign. Their exoskeletons could withstand direct energy weapon impacts, their minds processed information at quantum speeds, and their military doctrine had never failed against a technologically inferior species. Earth, by all measurements, was laughably inferior. The humans had barely managed to establish a presence on their own moon. Their spacecraft were chemical-propelled metal cans that would take them years to reach their nearest planetary neighbor. They still used radio waves for communication, a technology the Jarvak had abandoned before their first interstellar flight. Their weapons were projectile-based. Their medicine was barbaric by galactic standards, and they hadn't even achieved planetary unity. Different nations still squabbled over resources and borders like primitive tribes. The threat assessment algorithm rated humanity at 0.3 on the galactic danger scale, barely above non-sentient animals. Jektal's subordinate, Science Officer Vexmar, approached with the latest intelligence report. The humans had detected their ship 3 days ago and were attempting to communicate using mathematical sequences and music. How quaint, Jektal thought. They think we're here for cultural exchange. The commander's mandibles clicked in what his species considered laughter. The Jarvak had not become powerful through cultural exchange. They had become powerful through systematic domination of lesser beings. The Council's protocols were clear. When encountering a new primitive species, the discovering empire had first claim rights. They could choose to enslave, exterminate, or vassalize as they saw fit. The Jarvak Empire needed new agricultural worlds, and Earth's biodiversity would make it perfect for their purposes. The humans could be useful as manual laborers. Their bipedal structure and opposable thumbs showed promise for delicate work. Those who resisted would be eliminated. Those who submitted would be spared. It was the same offer the Jarvak had made to dozens of species before. A week into their observation, Jektal decided to make first contact. He selected a small delegation and descended to Earth's surface, choosing what the humans called the United Nations building in New York City. The humans had gathered their leaders, scientists, and media, treating this moment as the most significant event in their history. They were right about that, though not in the way they imagined. The human representatives seemed almost pathetically eager to please. They offered gifts of art and music, shared their scientific knowledge freely, and spoke endlessly about peace and cooperation. The Secretary General, an elderly human female named Sarah Chen, personally guided the Jarvak delegation through their facilities, showing them schools, hospitals, and research centers. She spoke about humanity's dreams of joining the galactic community, of learning from advanced civilizations, of sharing their own modest contributions to universal knowledge. Jektal found it all terrifically amusing. These humans were practically begging to be conquered. They showed no military presence, made no threats, asked no questions about the Jarvak's intentions. They were naive children playing at being a spacefaring civilization. When Secretary General Chen invited them to visit a kindergarten class to see Earth's youngest citizens, Jektal agreed. It would be useful to assess the developmental stages of their future slaves. The kindergarten visit changed everything. Not immediately, not obviously, but in hindsight, it was the moment the galaxy's fate was sealed. The human children, barely reaching Jektal's lowest knee joint, approached without fear. One small girl with curly hair actually hugged his leg, declaring that he looked like a big friendly bug. The Jarvak commander, who had personally ordered the execution of millions, stood frozen as tiny fingers traced the patterns on his exoskeleton. The teacher, A young man named Marcus Williams apologized for the children's behavior, but his eyes held something Jektal couldn't identify. Later, much later, when the commander had time to reflect in the ruins of his empire, he would recognize it as pity. The humans pitied them. These primitive, weak, technologically inferior beings looked at the galaxy's apex predators and felt sorry for them. During the visit, one child asked Jektal why he had 4 arms. When he explained it was for combat superiority, the child's face scrunched up. But why would you need to fight? Can't you just talk about your problems? The innocence in that question should have been a warning. No truly innocent species survives in this galaxy, but Jektal dismissed it as naivety. Secretary General Chen ended the visit by presenting Jektal with a gift from the children, a hand-drawn picture showing humans and Jarvak holding hands under a rainbow. "The children wanted you to know that you're welcome here," she said, her smile warm and genuine. "They've already started learning your language. Children adapt so quickly, don't they?" That night, back on his ship, Jektal gave the order. The conquest of Earth would begin at dawn. A fleet of 2,000 warships would arrive within the week. He transmitted his report to the Empire. Earth was defenseless, its people weak and trusting. It would be the easiest conquest in Jarvak history. He even recommended minimal ground forces. After all, a species that let their children hug unknown aliens clearly had no concept of danger. The next morning, Jektal broadcast the Jarvak Empire's demands across every human communication channel. Surrender unconditionally, accept Jarvak rule, provide 70% of their agricultural output as tribute, submit to population controls. Those who resisted would be eliminated. Those who complied would be allowed to live as servants of the Empire. He gave them 24 hours to respond. The humans asked for a week to consider. They claimed they needed time to convene their various governments, to explain the situation to their people. Jektal found their democracy quaint but ultimately irrelevant. He granted them 72 hours, no more. Let them come to terms with their fate. It would make the transition smoother. During those 3 days, human behavior became peculiar. They didn't panic. There were no riots, no mass evacuations, no visible military mobilization. Instead, they held what appeared to be parties. Families gathered for meals. Musicians performed free concerts. Artists painted murals on building walls. Scientists released decades of classified research to the public domain. It was as if they were saying goodbye to their world, accepting their fate with a strange dignity. Secretary General Chen requested one final meeting before the deadline. She arrived alone, carrying nothing but a small tablet computer. Her face was calm, almost serene. "Commander Jektal," she began, "we've made our decision. But first, I need to tell you something about humanity, something you should have asked but didn't." The unveiling truth, Secretary General Chen touched her tablet, and holographic images filled the room. They showed Earth, but not the Earth Jektal had observed. This Earth was surrounded by invisible satellites, countless thousands of them, all running on technologies that shouldn't exist on a primitive world. The images shifted to show underground cities spanning continents, connected by transportation systems that defied physics. Then came the military installations hidden beneath every major body of water, in every mountain range, disguised as natural formations but bristling with weapons that made Jarvak technology look antiquated. "You see, Commander," Chen said, her voice still gentle, almost sad. "Humanity learned something important about 300 years ago. We learned that in this galaxy, there are those who see kindness as weakness, who interpret peace as inability to wage war, who mistake restraint for defenselessness. We learned this from our own history, and we suspected we'd learn it again when we met others among the stars." Jektal's 4 arms twitched, reaching for weapons that weren't there. His security detail had been disabled the moment they entered the building, though they hadn't realized it yet. The humans had been jamming their communications, feeding them false sensory data, making them believe everything was normal. The technology required for such deception was beyond even the Jarvak Empire's capabilities. Chen continued, the images now showing human history. Wars that had devastated continents, weapons that had vaporized cities, genocides that had eliminated millions. "We are not a peaceful species by nature, Commander. We are a species that chose peace. There's a profound difference. Every human child learns about our capacity for destruction, about the monsters we can become when we abandon our humanity. That little girl who hugged your leg? She knows 17 ways to kill you with her lunchbox. We teach our children these things not to make them killers, but to make sure they understand the weight of choosing not to kill. The commander's quantum speed mind processed this information, running millions of calculations, all reaching the same conclusion: impossible. The energy signatures, the technological footprint, the behavioral patterns, everything indicated a primitive civilization. Chen seemed to read his thoughts. 300 years ago, we developed what we call the Innocence Protocol. Every human you've met, every building you've visited, every piece of technology you've scanned has been specifically designed to appear exactly as advanced as we want you to believe. We've been broadcasting fake radio signals into space. We've been launching deliberately primitive rockets. We've been playing the part of the naive young species stumbling into the galaxy. We wanted to see who would offer friendship and who would offer chains. The holographic display changed again, showing the Zarvak fleet approaching Earth. 2,000 warships, each one a masterpiece of destruction, each one already compromised. Your ships are magnificent, Chen admitted. We've learned a lot from scanning them. But did you notice that every system update in the last 72 hours included a small subroutine? A gift from those human children who learned your language so quickly. They didn't just learn to speak Zarvak. They learned to think like your computers, to dream in your code. Every one of your ships now belongs to us. Jektal's mandibles clicked frantically, the Zarvak equivalent of hyperventilation. This was not possible. The humans were primitive. The scans confirmed it. The council verified it. Everything about them screamed weakness. Chen stood up, and for the first time, Jektal noticed how she moved. Not like prey, like a predator pretending to be prey. We gave you every opportunity, she said. We showed you our children, our hospitals, our schools. We offered friendship, cooperation, mutual growth. And you responded with threats of slavery and genocide. You see, Commander, the real test wasn't whether you could conquer us. It was whether you would try. And you failed. The Zarvak fleet arrived on schedule, emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons powered up, targeting population centers across Earth. Jektal watched from the UN building, still unable to move, as his mighty armada prepared to fire. Then in perfect synchronization, every ship shut down. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply turned off like lights at bedtime. 2,000 of the galaxy's most advanced warships became floating metal coffins in the span of a heartbeat. Human vessels emerged from seemingly empty space, surrounding the disabled fleet. Not warships in any conventional sense, but something far more terrifying. Medical ships. The humans weren't going to destroy the Zarvak. They were going to cure them of aggression, of the need to dominate, of the inability to coexist peacefully. They had developed neurological modifications that would fundamentally alter Zarvak psychology, making them incapable of violence while leaving their intelligence and personality intact. We're not monsters, Chen explained to the horrified commander. We won't kill your people. We won't enslave them. We'll free them from the burden of being what the galaxy made them. Your empire will survive, but it will be different. Better. Your people will know peace for the first time in 8,000 years. They'll thank us eventually, though I understand you might not see it that way now. The transformation of the Zarvak Empire took 6 months. Every soldier, every citizen, every child was modified. The galaxy watched in horror as humanity's true capabilities were revealed. The humans had weapons that could rewrite DNA from orbit, viruses that could spread empathy like a disease, nanobots that could rebuild entire civilizations from the inside out. They had been hiding technology that surpassed even the ancient Forerunner artifacts that the Council guarded so jealously. But perhaps most terrifying was their restraint. They only targeted those who had threatened them. Every other species was left alone, though the message was clear: humanity was not to be trifled with. They began reaching out to the enslaved species of the galaxy, offering them freedom and protection. They shared technologies that ended hunger, cured diseases, and extended lifespans, but always with the same condition: choose peace or face transformation. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, every member species attended, even those who had been enemies for millennia. The topic was singular: what to do about humanity. Some argued for a united military response, pooling all their resources to destroy Earth before the humans grew even stronger. Others suggested negotiation, offering humanity a seat on the Council in exchange for limiting their expansion. The human ambassador who attended the session was Marcus Williams, the kindergarten teacher who had watched Jektal interact with the children. He brought with him a gift for each council member, a drawing from a human child. Each picture showed that species children playing with human children, learning together, growing together. His message was simple. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We don't want to destroy you. We want to teach our children that the universe can be better than it is. But if you force us to choose between our children's future and your empires, you already know what we'll choose. The Council voted unanimously to recognize Earth's sovereignty and guarantee humanity's peaceful expansion into the galaxy. What choice did they have? The humans had demonstrated that they could end any conflict before it began, that they could transform any enemy into a friend, that they could hide technology so advanced it seemed like magic. But more than that, they had shown something the galaxy had never seen before. True strength used only in defense, power wielded with conscience, and the ability to forgive even those who had tried to destroy them. The Jarvak Empire still exists, transformed into something unrecognizable. They are artists now, philosophers, builders of beautiful things. Their children play with human children, learning together in schools that teach both mathematics and mercy. Commander Jektal lives on Earth, where he tends a garden and writes poetry about redemption. He often visits the kindergarten where everything changed, watching new generations of children learn that strength means choosing not to hurt, that power means lifting others up, and that true victory comes not from conquest, but from converting enemies into friends. The galaxy has learned to fear humanity, not for their weapons or their technology, but for their ideas that spread like wildfire through oppressed populations. Ideas about dignity, freedom, and the right to choose one's own destiny. Ideas that topple empires more surely than any weapon. The humans call it the Innocence Protocol, but everyone else knows it by another name. The most successful invasion in galactic history, one that conquered through compassion and transformed through trust. Some nights when Earth's sun sets and the lights of 1,000 different species ships twinkle in the sky above, Secretary General Chen stands on the observation deck of the UN building and allows herself a small smile. The galaxy had tested humanity, threatened their children, and offered them chains. In response, humanity had given them a mirror, showing them what they could become if they chose to be better. Most days, most species made that choice. And for those who didn't, well, humanity's children were always learning new languages, new codes, new ways to say, "Let us help you become who you were meant to be." The illusion of innocence had been perfect. The galaxy had seen weakness where there was restraint, primitiveness where there was discretion, and naivety where there was hope. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest weapon was not hidden in their technology or their military might. It was in their unshakable belief that anyone, anything, even the monsters of the galaxy could choose to be better. And if they wouldn't choose, humanity would help them, whether they wanted it or not. As the human children grew up among the stars, playing with Jarvak younglings and learning Irisian mathematics, they carried with them the most dangerous weapon ever created, the absolute certainty that the universe could be kind. And slowly, inexorably, one transformed empire at a time, they were making it true.